The Galactic Dominion stretched across thousands of star systems. For centuries, its fleets and armies ruled without challenge. Most species feared its power, and those who did not fear were crushed until they did. To the Dominion, one more species on the edge of the galaxy was nothing worth noticing. That species was humanity. Humans had been discovered less than 100 years ago, when Dominion scouts found Earth and its colonies. The Dominion saw them as ambitious but small. They were not yet united under one voice, not yet a serious power. The Dominion allowed them to grow, thinking they would one day become useful vassals, suppliers of soldiers, workers, and resources. But one day a small mistake changed everything. It began at a quiet research outpost orbiting a gas giant. The outpost was new, a simple station built to study storms and energy fields. It had less than 50 humans living there, scientists and engineers with families waiting for them back on Earth in the colonies. A Dominion patrol ship entered the system, searching for pirates. The patrol captain was young, arrogant, and eager to prove himself. When his sensors detected the human station, he decided it was suspicious. He sent a message demanding they shut down all systems for inspection. The humans replied politely. They explained that this was a science station, not a military base. They offered records, data logs, even to open their hatches for visitors, but the Dominion captain was not satisfied. To him, humans were not equals, they were subjects, and subjects did not speak with such confidence. He convinced himself that the station was a hidden fortress. Without waiting for orders from his superiors, the captain fired. The station had no defenses. Its shields collapsed under the first barrage. Within minutes, it was nothing but burning debris orbiting the gas giant. Every human aboard perished. The captain sent a short report to Dominion Command. Station destroyed. Suspected pirate activity eliminated. His superiors accepted it without much thought. To them, it was nothing. A minor action on a distant frontier, but to humanity it was not nothing. It was an attack. It was murder. News of the destruction reached Earth within days. Families wept as names were read. Scientists who had dedicated their lives to peaceful study were gone. Engineers who had only wanted to understand the storms of a gas giant had been reduced to ash. For a short time, many humans hoped it was a mistake, that the Dominion would apologize and offer reparations. But no apology came. No word of regret was spoken. The Dominion did not even admit what had happened. Instead, one Dominion senator laughed in an open broadcast. When asked about the human protest, he waved his hand and said, "If they wish to be safe, they should stay out of the way. The galaxy is no place for children." Those words were repeated again and again on human channels. Every man, woman, and child heard them, and something inside humanity changed. The leaders of Earth and the colonies gathered in secret. They looked at the facts. The Dominion had killed their people. The Dominion mocked their grief, and the Dominion would not stop unless someone made them stop. The question was simple: should humanity fight? Many leaders hesitated. The Dominion controlled fleets larger than all human ships combined. Their armies numbered in the billions. Their technology was advanced and proven in countless wars, but others reminded them of history. Humanity had always been underestimated. When the world was harsh, they had survived. When empires had tried to crush them, they had resisted. When enemies had thought them weak, they had proven strong. The debate did not last long. Humanity would not bow. Humanity would not beg. Humanity would fight. The preparations began quietly. Factories that once built exploration ships now built warships. Mines that once sent ore to trade now sent it to hidden armories. Scientists who had studied stars now studied weapons. Engineers who had designed peaceful colonies now designed fortresses. The Dominion did not notice. They were too large, too confident. They believed no small species could rise against them. To them, humans were still children. But on Earth, something new was being forged. One man in particular understood what was coming. Admiral Elias Kane, a veteran of Earth's defense fleet, had seen the Dominion up close. Years ago, he had served as an observer aboard a Dominion cruiser. He had watched how they treated weaker species, with disdain, with cruelty, with arrogance. When the outpost was destroyed, Kane said only one thing: "They believe we are prey. We must show them we are not." Under his leadership, secret programs were activated. Prototypes that had been shelved as too dangerous were tested. Stealth drives, rail cannons the size of skyscrapers, armor made from exotic metals, these were no longer dreams. They became real. Kane's voice became the rallying cry. We do not seek this war, but we will finish it if it comes. Meanwhile, in the Dominion, most officials dismissed the growing tension. Reports of human anger were seen as amusing. One Dominion governor laughed during a council session. One species against the galaxy? Good luck. The room filled with laughter, but not everyone laughed. A few older admirals remembered old wars. They had seen what happened when a new species rose with fury in their hearts. They advised caution, but their warnings were ignored. The Dominion was too certain of its strength. Weeks later, a human message was sent to the Dominion High Council. It was short, only a few lines. You destroyed our outpost. You murdered our people. You mocked our grief. We do not forget. We do not forgive. You wanted war. Now you will have it. The council dismissed it as noise. But the message spread quickly among alien races across the galaxy. Some were curious. Others were afraid. For the first time they began to wonder, what if the humans were serious? Far from the capital in hidden shipyards orbiting dead stars, human warships came alive. Their engines glowed like suns. Their hulls were black and sharp, built not for beauty but for survival. Inside, human crews trained harder than ever before. Pilots learned to strike fast and vanish. Soldiers drilled until exhaustion. Commanders studied every Dominion battle tactic, every weakness, every flaw. Humanity was preparing not just to fight but to win, and deep in their hearts, every human carried the same memory: the burning of the outpost, the laughter of the Dominion senator, the arrogance of those who thought them weak. On the day the first human fleet gathered, Admiral Kane stood before his officers. His voice was calm, steady, filled with iron. They think we are nothing. They think we are weak. They think we will break, but they do not understand who we are. We are human, and we are dangerous. Every officer stood in silence, their eyes fixed on him. This war will not be easy, but we will not stop. Not until the Dominion learns the truth. They picked a fight with the wrong species, and when we are finished, the galaxy will never forget what happens when you strike at humanity. The room filled with a single answer. For Earth. For the colonies. For humanity. And so the mistake of one arrogant Dominion captain set the galaxy on a path it could not escape. A path of fire. A path of war. A path that would show every species in the stars that humanity was not prey. Humanity was the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever seen, and the war had only just begun. The Dominion believed the humans would stay quiet. They thought anger would fade with time, that humans would return to trade and diplomacy, too afraid to fight. After all, no small species had ever dared to resist the Dominion for long, but they were wrong. The humans had not forgotten the outpost. They had not forgiven the insult. And while the Dominion mocked them, humanity was building something the galaxy had never seen: the Dominion Armada. Months after the outpost incident, the Dominion sent a fleet to the human colony of EpicSciFi. EpicSciFi was one of humanity's brightest worlds, covered with forests, seas, and great shining cities. Millions lived there, a proud example of human strength and creativity. To the Dominion, it was the perfect target. The fleet that arrived was not small. 20 warships armed with plasma batteries and strike craft entered orbit. Their commander, Admiral Raltek, had orders to bring the colony under Dominion control. Raltek did not see humans as enemies. He saw them as obstacles. His plan was simple: show force, occupy the colony, and make humans bend. He sent his first message to the surface. This world is claimed by the Dominion. All defenses will be surrendered. All leaders will report to us at once. Any resistance will be crushed. Humanity's answer. For hours there was silence. The Dominion fleet waited, expecting human leaders to beg for mercy. But when the reply finally came, it was short and cold. This is human territory. Leave now. Raltek laughed when he read it. To him, it was the cry of fools who did not understand their situation. He ordered his ships to advance closer to orbit and prepared to land troops. But then, something strange happened. Dominion sensors detected movement in space. Faint, fast, and hard to track. At first, Raltech thought it was just debris or asteroids, but then the signals grew stronger. Shapes appeared on the edge of their scanners. Ships, human ships. The first battle at. First glance, the human fleet seemed small. Only 10 warships moved into range. Dominion officers laughed, saying, "Half our number. They will be dust in minutes." But then the battle began. The first human volley struck like thunder. Railgun rounds, slugs of metal accelerated to near light speed, ripped through Dominion shields as if they were paper. One Dominion cruiser exploded instantly, torn apart before it could even fire back. The Dominion fleet tried to return fire, but the humans moved faster than they expected. Their ships darted in and out of range, vanishing from sensors with strange new stealth drives. Every time Dominion gunners aimed, the humans were already gone. Then came the second volley. More Dominion ships cracked open, fire spilling into the void. Alarms filled Raltech's command deck as he shouted orders. "Hold formation! Surround them!" But there was no surrounding humans. Their ships moved with the precision of hunters. They struck weak points, crippled engines, and targeted command bridges with ruthless accuracy. Within an hour, half the Dominion fleet was gone. The shock of defeat, Admiral Raltech could not believe what he was seeing. He had fought rebels and pirates before, but never like this. These humans fought not to delay, not to scare, but to destroy. His officers begged him to retreat, but his pride would not allow it. He ordered his flagship forward, determined to show strength. That was his last mistake. The human flagship, resolute, turned its massive rail cannon toward him. With one terrible strike, Raltech's ship split apart, torn into glowing fragments. The remaining Dominion ships, leaderless and broken, scattered in panic. Only a handful escaped to carry the news. The rest drifted silently, wrecks spinning in the darkness. The message after the battle, Admiral Kane sent a transmission across the stars. It was brief, but every word carried iron. "To the Dominion, you came to take our world. You failed. We warned you. Leave human space, or be destroyed." The message was intercepted not only by Dominion channels, but by neutral species as well. Soon whispers spread across the galaxy. The humans destroyed a Dominion fleet? No one survives against the Dominion. How did they do it? Maybe the rumors are true. Maybe they really are DEATHWORLDers. For the first time, the galaxy looked at humans with something new. Not just curiosity, but fear. In the halls of Paragon, the Dominion capital, the High Council met in anger. Senators shouted at each other, demanding answers. How could a small species destroy a Dominion armada? How could 10 ships crush 20? Some said it was luck. Others claimed humans had stolen secret technology. But a few, the older voices, warned that this was no accident. One counselor, an ancient reptilian named Velox, spoke quietly but firmly. "You call them weak. But weak species do not destroy fleets. Weak species do not strike so quickly, so precisely. Do not forget, humans come from a death world. To survive there, they had to become predators. And now they are hunting us." His words were ignored by many. Pride filled the chamber. The Dominion had never lost to such a small foe. They could not imagine it happening again. So the Council made a decision. They would crush humanity with overwhelming force. Humanity's resolve back on Earth. News of the victory spread like wildfire. Crowds filled the streets, cheering the names of the fallen and the living alike. For the first time, humanity had stood against the Dominion, and won. But Admiral Kane reminded them that the war was far from over. This was only the first response, he told his officers. The Dominion will return, and they will come with more. But we will be ready. Every ship we build, every weapon we forge will carry the memory of our lost outpost. We fight not for conquest, but for survival, and we will survive. Factories roared to life. New fleets were assembled. Colonies volunteered their resources. Even civilians offered to fight if needed. Humanity was no longer divided, they were united by fire. The galaxy watches beyond the Dominion and human space, other species began to watch carefully. Some were oppressed under Dominion rule, hoping the humans might weaken their masters. Others were merchants calculating if trade with humans might be worth the risk. And in quiet corners, whispers spread. The humans fight differently. They do not retreat. They do not bargain. They strike to end. If the Dominion cannot stop them, what will happen to the balance of power? The calm before the storm. For a few short weeks, there was silence. The Dominion licked its wounds, planning revenge. Humanity built and trained, knowing the storm was coming. Admiral Kane stood aboard the Resolute, gazing out at the stars. He knew the next battle would be larger, bloodier, more dangerous. But he also knew something else. The Dominion had made the worst mistake possible. They had treated humanity as prey. They had attacked without fear. And now, the hunters had risen. Kane whispered to himself as the stars shone around him. They picked a fight with the most dangerous species in the galaxy, and soon they will learn what that means. The galaxy held its breath. The first response was over. The true war was about to begin. The destruction of Admiral Raltek's fleet was not just a battle lost. It was a spark, and in the vast cold galaxy, sparks had a way of becoming wildfires. For centuries, the Dominion had ruled with fear. No fleet dared resist them. No colony stood alone. But now a single frontier species had risen, and in their first great test, they had crushed the Empire's ships like brittle glass. The galaxy began to whisper. Rumors in the stars, in the marketplaces of neutral worlds. Traders carried stories like precious cargo. They spoke of humans who fought with strange weapons, who vanished from scanners and reappeared like ghosts. They spoke of Dominion ships torn apart by rail cannons that fired faster than light. Some dismissed the tales as exaggeration. No small species can fight the Dominion, one alien scoffed in a crowded bazaar. This is nothing but rumor. But another leaned closer, eyes wide. Rumor does not leave wrecks floating in space. I saw them. Dominion ships burned, broken, lifeless. It was no lie. The humans did it. And so the story spread from traders to smugglers, from smugglers to soldiers, from soldiers to senators. The humans had fought the Dominion, and the humans had won. In the Dominion capital, the High Council of the Dominion met in secret chambers, their voices filled with anger and pride. They are nothing, one senator shouted. A handful of lucky strikes. Our next fleet will erase them. Another slammed his claws on the table. And yet they erased Raltek. Do you call that nothing? He had 20 ships, 20. The chamber filled with noise. Pride battled fear. Most could not imagine the Dominion losing again. But in the darker corners, a quiet thought grew. What if humanity was not just lucky? What if humanity was dangerous? The DEATHWORLDers, in a dim room aboard a neutral station, 3 alien scholars spoke together. They had studied the records of Earth, of its storms and mountains, its oceans and deserts. One spoke softly. Their world is different from ours. Harsh. Violent. Their storms tear cities apart. Their beasts hunt with teeth and claws. Even their plants can kill. To live there, one must fight every day. Another added, most species that evolved on such worlds die out. But humans did not. They thrived. They spread. The third whispered the word that soon passed across the galaxy. DEATHWORLDers. The title carried weight. It meant survivors. It meant fighters. It meant predators, human strategy, while the galaxy whispered, humans worked. Admiral Kane and his officers knew the Dominion would not give up. The enemy was too proud, too vast. Their defeat at Elysium Prime was only the beginning. So Kane prepared for the next stage. We cannot fight them ship for ship, he told his commanders. Their numbers are greater. Their resources are endless. If we fight like them, we will lose. So we must fight like us. And so the humans used their greatest weapon, not just guns, not just ships, but strategy. Stealth fleets were sent into Dominion territory. They struck at supply lines, destroyed fuel depots, and vanished before reinforcements arrived. Merchant convoys disappeared into the void, leaving Dominion colonies starving. Communication hubs were burned out with precision strikes. The Dominion began to stumble. The fear grows on distant colonies. Dominion citizens started to notice shortages. Food arrived late. Medicine ran dry. Governors gave speeches promising victory, but their eyes betrayed worry. Soldiers whispered in their barracks. They strike from nowhere, one said. We chase them and they are gone. We wait and they appear again. Another nodded grimly. They do not fight like us. They fight like hunters. The fear began to grow, not just of defeat, but of being hunted. A broken armada to restore pride. The Dominion sent another armada, 50 ships this time, reinforced with carriers and dreadnoughts. It was led by Admiral Voskar, a commander known for his ruthlessness. He promised the Council he would bring Earth to its knees. "I will burn their colonies," he swore. "I will bring their leaders in chains." But Admiral Kane was waiting. The battle took place in the Lornic Expanse, a sector filled with nebulae and ion storms. Dominion ships struggled to see through the clouds. Sensors failed. Weapons flickered, and then the humans struck. Hidden among the storms, their fleets burst from cover. Stealth drives kept them invisible until the moment they fired. Railguns and missile swarms hammered the Dominion from every direction. Vosker roared commands, trying to form his lines. But the storms betrayed him, scattering his fleet. His ships became isolated targets, hunted one by one. When the nebula cleared, only a handful of Dominion ships remained. Vosker's flagship was gone, its wreck spinning silently through the void. The Galaxy React's news of the second defeat traveled even faster than the first. This time, no one called it luck. This time, no one dismissed it as chance. The humans had faced the Dominion twice, and twice they had won. On oppressed worlds, slaves began to whisper of freedom. If the humans can fight them, why not us? On neutral worlds, leaders reconsidered their treaties. Perhaps it is safer to ally with the humans than to oppose them. Even among Dominion citizens, doubt began to grow. They had been told their empire was invincible. But invincible empires did not lose twice. The Council's dilemma, the Dominion High Council gathered once more. The chamber was silent, heavy with unease. One senator spoke bitterly. "Every time we send fleets, they vanish. Every time we strike, they strike harder. If we continue like this, we will bleed ourselves dry." Another snarled, "So what do you propose? Surrender to these primitives?" But the word surrender made many shiver. Never in Dominion history had such a thought been spoken. Yet it lingered in the air, unspoken but present. Finally, Counselor Vaylock spoke again. "We must understand them. We cannot crush what we do not understand. Send spies. Learn their secrets. Only then can we find their weakness," the Council agreed. For now, the war would continue. But fear had entered their hearts. Humanity's resolve back on Earth, Kane addressed his officers once more. "The Dominion is vast, but they are not unstoppable. Their pride blinds them. Their strength is a mask. Already the galaxy sees it crack." He looked at the young commanders gathered before him. Many were new to war, but their eyes were hard, their wills unbroken. "We will keep striking. We will keep pushing. And when the galaxy sees what we are capable of, they will know the truth. Humanity does not bow. Humanity does not break. Humanity fights," the whisper of predators in taverns, on starships in dark alleys of distant worlds. The whispers grew louder. The humans are not prey. The humans are predators. They fight not to resist, but to end. And with each whisper, fear spread further. The Dominion had tried to make an example of humans, but instead they had created a nightmare. The galaxy was beginning to understand the truth. Humanity was not just another species. Humanity was the most dangerous species in the galaxy, and the war was only growing darker. The council chamber was silent. Rows of alien leaders sat in their seats, their faces twisted in disbelief. The holofeed replayed again on the high walls. A small human fleet had just destroyed a force 3 times their size. Not only destroyed, it had done so with precision, speed, and frightening control. No one in the chamber spoke at first. Even the loudest voices of arrogance seemed to vanish. Counselor Drex of the Zolari finally broke the silence. His long limbs trembled as he rose. This cannot be ignored. The humans were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to bow. Yet they fight like predators born from war itself. We must not let this grow. A murmur spread across the chamber. Counselor Vero of the Trellith, usually calm, now looked unsettled. "Do you not see? If such a small fleet can do this, what will happen when they bring their full strength? We have underestimated them. We may already be too late," the words carried weight. For centuries, the Council had dealt with species that learned slowly, species that relied on traditions and long council debates before acting. Humans were different. They were fast. They adapted. They turned every defeat into a lesson, and now their enemies had given them every reason to rise. On Earth, in the hidden command bunker under the mountains, Commander Hayes stood with his officers. The holomap of the galaxy glowed before them. Red lines marked enemy fleet movements. Blue lights marked human fleets, though they were few. Beside Hayes stood Dr. Rena Solis, a strategist who had studied alien patterns for years. She tapped the hollow. They will not back down. The Council will now see us as a threat, not a curiosity. Expect them to gather a grand fleet. Hayes nodded. Then let them gather. The bigger their fleet, the more mistakes they'll make. We'll cut them piece by piece. But deep inside, Hayes knew the danger. Humans were clever, yes. They were dangerous, yes. But the galaxy's armies were vast. Even the most skilled hunter could be torn apart if the pack was too large. Still, Hayes felt something different in his people. The galaxy thought of humans as dangerous now, but he knew they had not yet seen the full truth. Meanwhile, aboard the Council's flagship station, Admiral Kethar of the Torvan Confederacy prepared his report. He had fought against humans and survived barely. His fleets had been crushed by their strange tactics. He stood before the Council leaders, his voice cold. I tell you this, you face an enemy unlike any before. Humans do not fight as others do. They fight with fire in their hearts. They fight as if every battle is the last. They do not yield. They do not tire. You can destroy their ships, but they will find another way to strike you. You can corner them, but they will turn the trap against you. His words made the chamber grow tense. Counselor Drex hissed. Then are you suggesting surrender? That we bow to these creatures? Admiral Kethar's eyes narrowed. No, I suggest caution. For every victory you gain, be ready for 10 times the cost. You will not break them easily. The Council refused to accept the warning. Pride filled the chamber once again. Plans were drawn. Orders were sent. A grand fleet of dozens of species began to gather. They believed sheer numbers would crush Earth. On the other side of the stars, Earth prepared. Shipyards burned bright through the night, building faster than ever. Engineers worked without rest, forging hulls of steel and weapons of light. Old ships were rebuilt, new ones launched. Secret ones awakened from hidden vaults. The people of Earth had never been so united. Borders that once divided nations blurred. Old rivalries faded. Humanity had only one focus: survival. And in survival, they found strength. Stories spread among humans, stories of their victories, stories of soldiers who faced impossible odds and still won. These stories became fuel burning in every heart. Children dreamed of stars. Workers labored harder. Soldiers sharpened their blades and polished their rifles. The galaxy had called humans dangerous. Now humanity was proving them right. In the deep void of space, Captain Arya Kane stood aboard the warship Indomitable. She had led the fleet that crushed the enemy's ambush. Now she was preparing for the next storm. Her crew gathered in the command deck. She spoke simply, her voice steady. The galaxy thinks we are prey that learned to bite. They are wrong. We are hunters. And they just made us hungry. Her words carried through the ship. The crew roared with pride. But Arya knew the cost ahead. She had seen the Council's fleet movement reports. She knew they would soon face a force so massive it would blot out the stars. She whispered to herself, too soft for others to hear. Then let the stars go dark. We will shine brighter. Back in the Council chamber, whispers of fear spread behind closed doors. Reports from spies told of Earth's unity, of shipyards working day and night, of soldiers training with unmatched focus. Some counselors doubted. Others raged. But one truth they could not deny. Humans were no longer a minor race on the edge of space. They were rising, and the galaxy was beginning to fear that it had awakened something it could not put back to sleep. The spark of fear had been lit. Soon, it would become a fire. The galaxy held its breath. For months, the Dominion and its allies had been gathering fleets. Ships from dozens of star systems, some of them massive, bristling with weapons, began moving toward human space. Commanders who had once laughed at humanity now shivered as reports arrived from the frontiers. Humans were not retreating. Humans were ready. Admiral Kane watched the holomap in the command room aboard the Resolute. The enemy fleet was enormous, hundreds of ships, some larger than entire human cities. The Dominion believed sheer numbers would crush humanity, and they were not wrong. If humans fought them like anyone else. But humans did not fight like anyone else. Kane turned to his officers. This is the day they learn what we mean by danger. Remember everything we have trained for. Every tactic, every trick, every plan, it all matters now. One mistake and we lose not just a ship, but a world. The human fleet moves from hidden jump points. The human fleet emerged. Sleek warships glowed with power, their armor polished, their weapons humming with energy. Smaller stealth ships flitted like shadows between the larger cruisers, scouts ready to strike at any weakness. Captain Arya Kane, Elias Kane's daughter, and a brilliant strategist, commanded the vanguard. Her ships moved as one, weaving a complex pattern to confuse enemy sensors. "We hit them where it hurts," she said calmly. "Strike fast, strike hard, then vanish before they can respond. Keep them off balance and we will win." Her crew nodded. They had seen the Dominion underestimate them before. They knew what to do. The battle begins. The first clash was sudden. The Dominion fleet, confident and arrogant, moved in formation, expecting a straightforward fight. Instead, the humans split into unpredictable squadrons. Railguns fired, cutting through shields. Missile swarms targeted engines and command centers. Dominion ships tried to form a line, but every movement was countered. Humans struck like predators, striking weak points and vanishing into empty space. A Dominion dreadnought exploded in a fiery bloom, sending debris spinning into the void. Another cruiser lost its weapon systems, unable to fire back. Chaos spread through the enemy fleet. Admiral Kane watched from the bridge of the Resolute. "Remember," he said to his officers, "we are not here to play. Every ship they lose makes them think twice. Every strike teaches them fear." Dominion desperation Admiral Voskar, leading the Dominion fleet, was furious. He had prepared for years, gathering fleets from the farthest corners of the Empire. Now one human fleet was tearing through his forces. "Concentrate fire," he shouted. "We must destroy their flagship." But the humans were never where he expected them to be. Stealth drives allowed ships to appear and disappear, making it impossible to predict attacks. Strike teams disabled weapon systems and engines with surgical precision. The Dominion soldiers began to panic. Even the veterans trained for decades whispered in fear. Humans fought with a relentless efficiency that no one had seen before. The turning point amid the chaos, Captain Arya Kane directed a smaller fleet toward the heart of the Dominion line. Their target, command ships that coordinated the massive fleet. Using stealth and speed, the human strike team bypassed outer defenses. Within minutes, they disabled communications and destroyed key control nodes. Suddenly, the massive enemy fleet lost coordination. Ships collided. Formations broke apart. Confusion spread like wildfire. "Now," Arya said, her voice calm but deadly, "we finish this." The main human fleet followed. Railguns and missiles rained down on the disorganized enemy ships. What should have been a fight of hundreds against dozens became a massacre. Allies in the shadows. As the Dominion fell back in disarray, other species watching from the sidelines began to reconsider their position. Traitors, spies, and minor empires who had long submitted to Dominion control saw humans not as prey, but as protectors and predators quietly. Some sent small fleets to aid the humans, offering supplies, intelligence, and safe passage through contested sectors. Even minor acts of support shifted the balance further. The Dominion, once confident in its supremacy, now faced enemies on all sides. The galaxy was beginning to change. The human advance by the end of the first day of battle, the Dominion fleet was shattered. Ships drifted aimlessly, wreckage floating in the cold light of distant stars. Survivors reported back in fear, speaking of humans who struck like lightning and vanished before counterattacks could land. Admiral Kane's message to the Dominion was simple, broadcast across every open channel. "You attacked our people. You mocked our loss. You underestimated our species. Humanity will not stop until you understand the cost of your arrogance." The message spread to every sector, every colony, and every observer watching the war. The galaxy began to whisper a single terrible truth. Humans were unstoppable once provoked. Dominion retreat, Admiral Voskar survived, barely, retreating with a fraction of his fleet. His reports back to the Council were grim. The humans, they do not fight like anyone else. They are faster, smarter, deadlier. They hunt us. The Council refused to accept full defeat, but for the first time, fear colored every decision. No longer could they believe victory was assured. Humanity had proven that they could strike decisively, that they could destroy fleets far larger than their own, and that they would not show mercy to those who attacked first. Humanity's unity back on Earth and its colonies. Celebrations were muted but proud. Families cheered as news arrived. Ships returned battered but victorious. Engineers and strategists worked without pause, repairing and upgrading fleets for the next challenge. Admiral Kane addressed the fleet via communication link. Today we have shown the galaxy our strength. But remember, this is only the beginning. The Dominion will return. Others will try to challenge us. We fight for survival, for our people, and for every world that calls us allies. Humanity does not stop. Humanity does not surrender. Humanity fights. The crew roared in response, their voices echoing through every ship. The whisper of fear in the council chambers. The reports came in from all corners. Half the fleet had been destroyed. Command ships were lost. Communication lines had been cut. The Dominion had suffered its greatest defeat in decades. Panic spread through the ranks. Soldiers began to question orders. Governors begged for reinforcement. And Councillor Velox, once ignored, whispered again. They are not prey. They are predators, and they remember every wrong done to them. Across the galaxy, the same thought spread quietly in the minds of many. Humanity had changed the balance of power. The species once dismissed as weak was now feared, respected, and revered. The calm after the storm, the battlefield quieted. Debris drifted in orbit around shattered moons and distant stars. Human ships returned to bases for repair and resupply. Yet none of the humans celebrated too long. Every officer, every soldier knew that the Dominion would return, bigger, faster, and smarter. But humanity had learned a lesson of its own. In the galaxy, survival required courage, intelligence, and unity. Admiral Kane looked at the stars, shining cold and distant. We have shown them what happens when you attack us. But this war has only begun. We will fight again, and each time the galaxy will learn the same lesson. Humanity does not bow. Humanity does not break. Humanity ends the fight on its own terms. The stars seemed to tremble in response.